They were already at my door when I got home from work. Leo, Melinda, and Bella. Standing in the hallway of my modest apartment building like an execution squad, their faces twisted with rage and desperation. Melinda's designer handbag, the one she'd smugly shown off at countless family dinners, was clutched so tightly in her manicured hands that her knuckles had gone white. "You destroyed her future!" Melinda's voice echoed off the narrow walls, shrill enough to make my elderly neighbor crack open her door. "Over a cheap necklace, you destroyed our daughter's entire future." I stood there, key still in my hand, and looked at the three of them. My brother wouldn't meet my eyes. His 15-year-old daughter, the one I'd secretly bankrolled for 3 years, was crying those practiced tears she'd perfected for getting her way. And Melinda, my sister-in-law, who'd spent years making sure I knew exactly how worthless she thought I was, looked like she wanted to claw my eyes out. $50,000? Leo finally found his voice, though it cracked with panic. "Clara, they want $50,000 in 30 days, or Bella's expelled from the academy. The scholarship, the one that was supposed to be guaranteed for 4 years, it's gone, just gone. No warning, no explanation, nothing." I unlocked my door calm as glass. "That does sound problematic." "Problematic." Melinda shoved past me into my apartment, her expensive perfume overwhelming my small space. "You think this is just problematic? Do you have any idea what this will do to her? To us. We've built our entire financial life around that scholarship. The boat payments, my car lease, the pool renovation, everything. Maybe you shouldn't have built your life on money that was never actually yours." I set my bag down, watching her face turn an alarming shade of red. "What's that supposed to mean?" But Leo's expression was changing. I could see it happening in real time, the horrible realization creeping across his features like frost. "No, Clara, no. Tell me you weren't—" "Tell you what, Leo." "The scholarship. The anonymous donor." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Oh my God, it was you. You've been paying for 3 years." Melinda's mouth fell open. Bella stopped crying mid-sob, her eyes going wide. $153,000, I said softly. "Plus additional fees for workshops, costumes, special programs. I've been Bella's anonymous benefactor since she was 12 years old." "You—" Melinda's voice was strangled. But you're just a—" "Just a what, Melinda?" "Just a consultant who lives in a small apartment. Just the poor relation in cheap clothes. Just the sister-in-law you've been mocking at every family dinner for 3 years while I paid for your daughter's dream." "Clara?" Leo's face had gone pale. "If you were doing this, why didn't you tell us? Why keep it secret?" "Because I wanted to give Bella a chance without your wife using it as leverage. I wanted to support my niece without making it about me, and honestly," I looked directly at Melinda, "I wondered if you'd treat me differently if you knew. Turns out I have my answer." "What are you talking about?" Melinda's voice was still sharp, but uncertainty had crept in. "Last Saturday, Mom's birthday party. Your marble floors, your catered dinner, your perfectly renovated home that you made sure everyone knew cost a fortune. Do you remember what happened?" Bella's crying started up again, genuine this time. "Aunt Clara, I'm so sorry about the necklace. I didn't mean to—" "You ripped it off my neck and laughed while the diamonds scattered across the floor. You called it cheap. You said it looked fake, and your mother—" I turned back to Melinda. "You smiled. You actually smiled and said old things just fall apart and suggested I buy something modern." "It was an accident." Leo's voice was desperate now. "She's 15, she didn't understand. That necklace was worth $18,000. Art Deco Platinum 3/4 carat diamonds. It belonged to our grandmother Leo. 80 years in our family. And your daughter destroyed it while making sure I understood it was worthless trash. Just like you've all made sure I understood that I'm worthless trash." The silence that followed was deafening. 18,000, Melinda's voice was barely audible. "So, let me see if I understand the math correctly." I kept my voice eerily calm. "You can't afford $50,000 for Bella's education, but you thought you could replace an $18,000 heirloom. The numbers don't quite add up, do they?" "We'll fix everything." Leo's voice cracked with desperation. "The necklace will repair it. We'll apologize, all of us, however many times you need to hear it." I wanted basic respect. Instead, I funded your lifestyle for 3 years while enduring constant humiliation. I watched my niece learn from her mother that judging people by their appearance was acceptable. You took my generosity and spit in my face. Bella's voice came out small and broken. Aunt Clara, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. Don't take away the academy. I looked at this child I'd sacrificed for this girl, taught that cruelty was acceptable if you were pretty enough, talented enough, special enough. It's already gone. The termination email went out this morning. Lie. Before you judge me, before you decide whether I'm the villain or the victim in this story, let me ask you this. What would you do if the person you'd been secretly supporting for years destroyed something irreplaceable while mocking you? Would you continue funding their dreams? Stay with me because this story gets more complicated. If you want to hear how this family drama unfolded, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories about toxic family dynamics, and drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation. Now let me take you back to where this really started, 3 years earlier to be exact. I was 32 when Bella turned 12 and discovered her passion for dance. She was genuinely talented, everyone could see that. At family dinners, she'd demonstrate her pirouettes in the living room, her face glowing with pure joy. It was the only time I saw her without that sullen, entitled expression Melinda had cultivated in her. My brother Leo had made decent money in middle management, and Melinda liked to present herself as if they were far wealthier than they actually were. The designer clothes, the luxury car she leased, the renovated kitchen with marble countertops. It all looked impressive until you understood the mountain of debt behind the facade. When Bella expressed interest in auditioning for the Metropolitan Dance Academy, one of the most prestigious dance schools in the country, Melinda was ecstatic. Not because of what it would mean for Bella's genuine passion, but because of what it would mean for Melinda's social status. She could finally brag about having a daughter at the Metropolitan. The problem was the tuition, $50,000 a year. Even with Leo's salary, they couldn't afford it, not with their lifestyle. I watched Melinda's face fall when they looked at the numbers, watched her start to construct excuses for why Bella wouldn't audition after all. That's when I made my first mistake. I loved my niece. Despite Melinda's influence, despite the entitled behavior that was already starting to show, I saw glimpses of the sweet child she'd been. I saw her genuine love for dance, and I thought maybe, just maybe, if I could give her this opportunity, she'd grow into someone better than her mother. So I set up the anonymous scholarship through my financial firm. I had the resources. I'd built a successful career as a financial consultant, invested wisely, lived modestly. While Melinda drove her leased Mercedes and wore designer labels, I drove a 10-year-old Honda and bought my clothes at outlet stores. I had money, I just didn't advertise it. The scholarship was structured through a shell foundation I created specifically for this purpose. As far as the Metropolitan Dance Academy knew, Bella Morrison was the recipient of a merit-based full-ride scholarship from the Henderson Arts Foundation. As far as Leo and Melinda knew, their daughter had won a prestigious scholarship through her audition performance alone. Melinda crowed about it for months. At every family dinner, every holiday gathering, she'd find a way to mention it. Bella's scholarship is so competitive, you know. Only 5 students nationwide received it. The academy specifically said her technique was exceptional. She'd pause, looking around the table to make sure everyone was appropriately impressed, her eyes always sliding past me with barely concealed disdain. I watched this performance for 3 years. 3 years of writing checks, of ensuring my niece had the opportunity to pursue her passion while being treated like the poor relation at every family gathering. My mother Evelyn noticed. She'd catch my eye across the table when Melinda would make one of her subtle digs. Clara's still in that tiny apartment downtown. Don't you ever want something more spacious? Or, I don't know how you manage on a consultant's salary. Everything is so expensive these days. The implication was always clear. I was barely scraping by while they were thriving. Leo said nothing. He never did. My brother had become a shadow of himself since marrying Melinda, agreeing with her assessments, nodding along to her judgments. The few times I'd tried to talk to him alone, he'd made excuses. Melinda's just particular about things. You know how she is. It's not personal. But it was personal. Every dismissive glance, every backhanded compliment, every time she steered conversation away when I spoke. It was all deeply intentionally personal. The necklace became a particular target. My grandmother's Art Deco diamond necklace, 3/4 of a carat set in platinum with 3 stones arranged to catch the light like teardrops. It had been in our family for 80 years, passed from my grandmother to my mother, who gave it to me because she knew I'd cherish it the way it deserved. I wore it often. It made me feel connected to my grandmother, a woman who'd been widowed young and built a business from nothing, who'd taught me that quiet strength was more valuable than loud displays of wealth. The necklace was elegant, understated classic. Everything Melinda wasn't. "Still wearing that old thing?" she'd say, her tone sugary sweet with poison underneath. You know vintage is very in right now, but there are such lovely modern pieces. I could recommend my jeweler. Once I overheard her telling Bella it was probably costume jewelry from a flea market. I never corrected her, let her think what she wanted. The necklace's value wasn't determined by her recognition of it. Then came the birthday dinner. My mother's 70th birthday, hosted at Leo and Melinda's house because, as Melinda explained, we have so much more space to entertain properly. The house was impressive, I'd give her that. They'd renovated extensively, all on credit, I suspected, but it looked like something from a magazine spread. Melinda called me 3 days before the dinner. "Clara, hi. Just wanted to touch base about Saturday. It's going to be quite an elegant affair. I've hired a caterer, we'll have champagne the works. I hope you have something appropriate to wear. I know your wardrobe tends toward the casual." I gripped my phone tighter. "I'll find something suitable." "Wonderful. And Clara, this is important to your mother. Let's make sure everything is perfect, okay? No need for any awkwardness." The threat was clear. Behave. Don't embarrass us. Remember your place. I arrived on Saturday evening wearing a simple black dress and my grandmother's necklace. The diamonds caught the chandelier light as I walked in 3 teardrops of fire and ice against my collarbone. Melinda's eyes went straight to it, her smile tightening. "Clara, you made it and wearing your special necklace, I see." Her tone made special sound like pathetic. Leo hugged me briefly, his embrace weak and apologetic even in that simple gesture. My mother's face lit up when she saw me, though, and that made the evening bearable, for a few minutes at least. Bella barely looked up from her phone when I said hello. She was 15 now, poised on that edge between child and adult, where cruelty can be either accidental or intentional, and it's hard to tell which. "Hey, Aunt Clara," she mumbled then with a glance at her mother. "Still wearing that old necklace?" It was my grandmother's. Mom says it looks like it came from a thrift store." Melinda's laugh tinkled across the room. "Bella, I never said that exactly. I just mentioned that vintage pieces can look dated if they're not styled correctly." She smiled at me all teeth. "I'm sure it has sentimental value." Dinner was excruciating. Melinda held court at one end of the table discussing Bella's achievements at the academy. Her instructors say she's one of the most promising students they've seen in years. The scholarship committee must have incredible foresight, don't you think, to recognize her talent so early. I cut my salmon into precise pieces. Yes, incredible foresight. It's such a relief, financially speaking. $50,000 a year, can you imagine? We could never have afforded it otherwise. Well, we could have, of course, but it would have required sacrifices. The boat, perhaps. Or my car. Thank God Bella is so talented. Leo nodded along. She works very hard. She does, I said quietly. I'm sure she'll make the most of the opportunity. Melinda's eyes narrowed slightly as if trying to detect sarcasm, but I kept my expression neutral. After 3 years of practice, I'd perfected the art of the blank face. The conversation continued in this vein throughout dinner. Melinda's accomplishments, Bella's achievements, their renovated pool, their upcoming vacation. When anyone asked about my work, Melinda would interject before I could fully answer. Consulting must be so stressful, Clara. All those demanding clients. Do you ever think about finding something more stable, government work, perhaps better benefits? I'm content with what I do. Well, as long as you can pay your bills, I suppose that's what matters. She took a delicate sip of wine. Though I do worry about you living alone in that apartment. No retirement savings to speak of, I imagine. My mother's face tightened. Melinda, I'm sure Clara has her finances well in hand. Of course I'm just being concerned. Family looks out for family, right? After dinner, we moved to the living room for birthday cake. My mother opened her gifts, each one received with genuine warmth. I'd given her a first edition of her favorite book, which I'd spent months tracking down. She held it like treasure tears in her eyes. Melinda had given her a spa day voucher. So you can pamper yourself, you deserve it. That's when Bella approached me. I was standing near the window watching the evening settle over their manicured backyard when I felt a tug at my necklace. Bella, careful. She pulled harder, examining the diamonds with an expression of theatrical disdain. This looks so cheap. Is it even real? Mom said it's probably fake. Bella let go. I'm just looking. She yanked harder and I heard it. That distinct sound of metal giving way, the snap of the clasp breaking, the whisper of chain sliding across skin. The necklace fell diamonds scattering across Melinda's polished hardwood floor like frozen tears. 3 small stones catching the light as they bounced and rolled. For a moment there was absolute silence. Then Bella laughed. Not a gasp of horror, not an apology. A laugh. Oops, it broke, see, Mom. I told you it was cheap. Real jewelry doesn't just fall apart like that. I dropped to my knees, gathering the stones with shaking hands. Each one felt like a piece of my grandmother slipping through my fingers. The chain was broken, the clasp destroyed. 80 years of family history scattered like garbage across the floor. Melinda rushed over, but not to help me, to examine the damage with barely concealed satisfaction. Oh, Clara, I'm so sorry, but you know old things just fall apart eventually. It's probably for the best. Now you can get something new and modern. I have an excellent jeweler who— Don't! My voice came out harder than I'd intended. I clutched the diamonds in my palm, feeling their sharp edges bite into my skin. Just don't! Leo finally moved. Clara, are you okay? Was it expensive? I can replace it. But Melinda's hand on his arm stopped him. Her look said everything. Why waste money on costume jewelry? Leo's voice weakened. I mean, if it's not worth much, then— It's fine. I stood up, the diamonds clutched in one hand, the broken chain in the other. It's just fine. My mother was staring at the scene, her face pale, but she said nothing. What could she say? This was the family dynamic we'd all accepted for years. Melinda's cruelty dressed up as concern, Leo's weakness masquerading as peacekeeping, Bella's entitlement nurtured by both. I looked at my niece. She wasn't even sorry. She was smirking, pleased with herself because her mother was pleased. That's when I knew. 3 years of sacrifice, 3 years of hope that somehow Bella would grow into someone better. 3 years of swallowing humiliation at family dinners. All of it wasted. I placed the broken necklace carefully in my purse. Thank you for the lovely dinner. Happy birthday, Mom. I left without another word. The drive home was a blur. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my mind was a hurricane. I kept seeing Bella's face, that satisfied smirk. Kept hearing Melinda's voice dripping with false sympathy. Kept feeling Leo's cowardice, his inability to defend me even once. When I got home, I didn't waste time. I opened my laptop and composed 2 emails. The first was to the Metropolitan Dance Academy, specifically to the scholarship coordinator I'd been working with for 3 years. Dear Ms. Patterson, I am writing to inform you that the Henderson Arts Foundation will be discontinuing the scholarship for Bella Morrison effective immediately. Per the terms of our agreement, this notice serves as official termination of funding. Please inform the Morrison family that full tuition payment of $50,000 is required within 30 days to maintain enrollment. Sincerely, Henderson Arts Foundation Board of Directors. I sent it without hesitation. The second email went to Leo and Melinda, CCing my mother. The Metropolitan Dance Academy will be contacting you shortly regarding Bella's scholarship status. I wanted you to hear it from me first. The scholarship has been revoked. Tuition of $50,000 is due within 30 days. I wish Bella all the best in her future endeavors. Clara. I sent that one too. Then I sat back and waited. The phone started ringing within an hour. Leo, over and over. I let it go to voicemail, then Melinda, then Leo again. Text messages flooded in, each one more frantic than the last. I poured myself a glass of wine and ignored them all. It wasn't until nearly midnight that I finally answered. Leo's voice was hoarse as if he'd been shouting. The Academy called. They said the scholarship has been terminated. Clara, please, you have to tell me. Was it you? Have you been the donor this whole time? What do you think? Oh my God. His breathing was ragged. 3 years. You've been paying for 3 years. $150,000. $153,000 to be exact, with additional fees for workshops and costumes and special programs. Why didn't you tell us? Would it have changed anything? Would Melinda have treated me differently if she'd known? Would you have finally stood up to her? Silence. That's what I thought. Clara, please. We can't afford this. The tuition is $50,000 a year. We've already committed to so many things. The boat payment is $1,500 a month. Melinda's car lease is $800. The pool renovation cost $40,000 and we're still paying it off. We budgeted around that scholarship. We planned our entire financial life around it. That sounds like a personal problem. This is cruel. You're punishing a 15-year-old girl for a mistake. A mistake she laughed at. A mistake your wife smiled through. A mistake that destroyed something that meant more to me than you can possibly understand. It's just a necklace. My voice went cold. It was an $18,000 necklace. 3/4 carat diamonds, platinum setting, Art Deco era. It belonged to our grandmother. It had been in our family for 80 years, and your daughter called it cheap while your wife watched with satisfaction. 18,000? He choked on the number. So let me understand this correctly, Leo. You can't pay $50,000 for Bella's education, but you think you can replace an $18,000 heirloom? The math doesn't quite work, does it? We'll apologize. Melinda will apologize. Bella will apologize. We'll get the necklace fixed. With what money? You just told me you can't afford the tuition. How will you afford repairs? How will you afford anything when you've built your entire life on money that was never actually yours? I could hear Melinda in the background, her voice shrill. Then she grabbed the phone. Clara, you're being absolutely ridiculous. You can't destroy Bella's future over a piece of jewelry. I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply choosing not to fund it anymore. That's the same thing. You know we can't afford it. Then perhaps you should have thought about that before teaching your daughter that I'm worthless. Before spending 3 years making sure I understood exactly how much you despise me. Before standing there smiling while she destroyed something irreplaceable. We'll replace it, I promise. You can't replace it. It's gone. Just like my willingness to bankroll your daughter's dreams while you treat me like garbage. This isn't fair. You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been basic respect. Fair would have been Leo standing up for me even once in 3 years. Fair would have been raising Bella to understand that other people's belongings have value regardless of what they look like. Fair would have been acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, the quiet sister in the simple clothes might have more going on than you assumed. You're being vindictive. I'm being done. 3 years, Melinda. 3 years I watched you mock me. 3 years I funded your daughter's education while you made sure everyone knew how much better you were than me. 3 years of swallowing humiliation at family dinners so Bella could have her dream. And the minute I wanted one thing, one small kindness, which was to not have my grandmother's necklace destroyed and laughed at, you couldn't even give me that. She's a child. She didn't know. She didn't know because you never taught her. Because you taught her that it's acceptable to judge people by their appearance, to assume that simple means poor to treat family members with contempt if they don't meet your standards of success. You raised her to be exactly like you, Melinda. Congratulations. I could hear her breathing, harsh and angry. If you do this, we'll never forgive you. I'll learn to live with that. I hung up. The texts continued through the night. Apologies mixed with accusations. Promises mixed with threats. Bella sent several messages, all variations of, I'm sorry, please don't do this. But they were empty, performative. She wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry for the consequences. I responded to only one. Bella's message read, Aunt Clara, I'm really sorry. I didn't know it was valuable. Please give me another chance. I typed back, the fact that you didn't know it was valuable is exactly the problem. You felt free to destroy it because your mother taught you it was worthless. Just like she taught you I was worthless. That's what I can't forgive. My mother called the next morning. Her voice was soft, sad. Leo told me everything. About the scholarship. About you being the donor. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. Don't apologize. I should have known. Should have guessed. She paused. You did a beautiful thing for Bella, and they threw it in your face. Mom, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I've watched Melinda treat you terribly for years. I've watched Leo let it happen. I told myself it was just family dynamics, just personalities clashing. But watching Bella destroy your grandmother's necklace, watching them dismiss it like it was nothing, I realized I've been enabling this. It's not your fault. I'm her mother, too. I should have stopped it. I should have demanded better from him. Her voice cracked. That necklace was supposed to represent strength. Your grandmother wore it through the worst times of her life, and it reminded her that she could survive anything. And now, I'm getting it repaired. It won't be the same, but I'll fix it. Like you're fixing this situation. Something like that. Clara, I support you, whatever you decide to do. Leo and Melinda made their choices. Now they have to live with them. That conversation gave me strength for what came next. The Academy sent the official notice on Monday. Leo called again, this time desperate. They've given us until the end of the month. Clara, please. Bella is devastated. Is she devastated that she hurt me, or devastated that there are consequences? Both. She's 15, she's learning. Then this is an excellent lesson. Actions have consequences. Cruelty has costs. She's old enough to understand that. You're really going to do this. You're going to let her lose everything because of one mistake. I already did everything, Leo, for 3 years. I gave her the opportunity of a lifetime while being treated like I was nothing. I think I've done enough. What do you want? An apology groveling? We'll do it. I wanted basic human respect. I wanted my brother to stand up for me even once. I wanted my niece to be raised with values that didn't include judging people by their bank accounts and clothes. I wanted a family that appreciated sacrifice instead of exploiting it. But it's too late for that now. So that's it. You're just done with us. I'm done being your ATM while being treated like your charity case. I took the necklace to a master jeweler that week. He examined it carefully, his old hands gentle with the broken pieces. Art Deco platinum, very fine work. He looked up at me. The clasp can be replaced, but it won't be original. The chain can be repaired, but there will be marks where it broke. It will never be exactly as it was. Nothing ever is, I said quietly. Still worth doing? Yes, he nodded. Some things are worth saving, even if they bear the scars. The month passed slowly. Leo called less frequently, but the messages continued. Melinda's tone shifted from angry to pleading to bitter. Bella's messages became more desperate. Aunt Clara, they told my friends I'm leaving. Everyone's asking why. I'm so embarrassed. Aunt Clara, Mom, and Dad are fighting constantly. Dad says we might have to sell the boat. Aunt Clara, please, I'll do anything. I'll apologize 1,000 times. I'll never be mean again. I didn't respond to most of them. What was there to say? Sorry that you're learning accountability. Sorry that your parents' financial irresponsibility is catching up with them. Sorry that you have to face the consequences of cruelty. The deadline came and went. The Academy was not flexible. On the first of the month, they withdrew Bella's enrollment. Leo's call that day was different, quieter, defeated. She's out. They officially dropped her today. I'm sorry it came to this. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, you planned this. You wanted this. No. I wanted respect. I wanted appreciation. I wanted to be treated like a human being. What I got was humiliation, so I stopped participating in my own degradation. There's a difference. She was crying when she cleaned out her locker. Her instructors were confused. Her friends were shocked. Do you know what that feels like? Yes, actually. It feels like being mocked at family dinners. It feels like watching someone destroy something precious while laughing. It feels like being dismissed and belittled by people who were living off your generosity. I know exactly what that feels like. You've made your point. You've punished us enough. Can we move forward now? Move forward to what? More family dinners where Melinda makes sure I know my place. More holidays where Bella learns that cruelty is acceptable if you're pretty and talented enough. What exactly are we moving forward to? To being a family again. We haven't been a family for years, Leo. We've been a performance. You and Melinda and Bella playing the successful, sophisticated family, and me playing the poor relation who should be grateful for scraps of attention. I'm just tired of my role. A week later, a letter arrived. Real mail, not email. Bella's handwriting careful and deliberate. Aunt Clara, I know you probably won't read this. I know I don't deserve for you to read this, but I need to say it anyway. I'm sorry for breaking your necklace. Not because it was expensive, though. I had no idea it was that expensive. I'm sorry because it was yours and I was careless with something you loved. I'm sorry I called it cheap. Mom said it looked like costume jewelry, but I chose to believe that and use it to be mean. That was my choice. I'm sorry I laughed. I didn't think it mattered breaking something that seemed worthless. But that's the whole problem, isn't it? I thought it was okay to break it because I thought it didn't matter. Just like I thought it was okay to treat you like you didn't matter. I'm not at the Academy anymore. My parents can't afford it. I'm angry about that, but I understand it's because of what I did. what we did. I didn't know you were paying for it. I didn't know a lot of things. I'm taking classes at a local studio now. It's not the Metropolitan, but Miss Catherine is a good teacher. She's teaching me that dance isn't about being at the best school or having the best costume. It's about discipline and respect and understanding that real beauty comes from inside. I think maybe that's what you were trying to teach us all along. I'm sorry I was too stupid to listen. I read the letter 3 times. It wasn't perfect. It was clear Bella had help writing it, probably from my mother. But there was something genuine in it too. Something that felt like the beginning of actual understanding. I wrote back that evening. Bella, thank you for your letter. I accept your apology, I do. But I want you to understand something. The necklace was worth $18,000. The scholarship was worth $153,000. But what you and your mother destroyed wasn't about money. It was about respect. Your mother taught you to judge people by their appearance, to assume that simple means poor, to treat family members differently based on what they can do for you. She taught you those things not through words but through actions. Every dinner where she mocked my clothes, my apartment, my car. Every conversation where she made sure I knew I was less than. You learned from watching her. The scholarship is not coming back. I need you to understand that actions have real consequences. But I also need you to understand something else. Your passion for dance is valid whether you're at the Metropolitan or at a local studio. Your talent isn't determined by the prestige of your school. If you really love dance, you'll find a way to pursue it regardless of circumstances. Real passion doesn't need fancy buildings and famous instructors. It just needs dedication. Maybe losing the academy will teach you more about yourself than staying ever would have. Keep dancing. But dance because you love it, not because it impresses people. Her response came quickly. Aunt Clara, Miss Catherine said almost the same thing, that the best dancers she's known weren't always from the best schools. That pressure and privilege can kill passion. I didn't understand what she meant until now. I'm learning a lot at the new studio. Different technique, different philosophy. Miss Catherine makes us write in journals about what dance means to us, not just practice steps. It's harder in some ways. Easier in others. Thank you for 3 years of supporting me even when I didn't know it, even when I didn't deserve it. I hope someday I can be the kind of person who gives without expecting anything back like you did. I hope someday you'll want to come see me dance. I stared at that last line for a long time, then I wrote back. I'd like that, someday, when we've all healed a bit more. Keep dancing, Bella, not for me or your parents or anyone else. Dance for yourself. That's when it becomes art. The necklace was ready 3 weeks later. The jeweler had done beautiful work. The new clasp was slightly different, more modern, but it held strong. The repairs to the chain were nearly invisible except for one spot where you could see a faint line if you knew where to look. Battle scars, the jeweler said with a small smile. Everything that breaks and gets repaired carries them. Doesn't make it less beautiful. Sometimes makes it more. I wore it home from his shop. The weight of it against my collarbone felt familiar and strange at the same time. Still my grandmother's necklace, still a symbol of strength, but changed, marked by what it had survived. Like me, my mother invited me to dinner the following month, just the 2 of us. Over wine and pasta, she told me that Leo and Melinda were struggling, really struggling. The boat had been repossessed. They were trying to sell Melinda's car. The pool renovation was half finished and would likely stay that way. Melinda's been humbled, Mom said carefully. I'm not saying that to make you feel guilty. I'm saying it because it's true. She had to get a job, part-time at a department store. She's furious about it, but she needs the money. And Leo, taking on extra hours, stressed, but maybe finally growing a spine. He stood up to her last week, told her she needed to stop blaming you for their problems, that they'd built a house of cards and were angry at you for not being the foundation anymore. How did that go? Not well, but he said it. That's something. I touched the necklace, feeling the slightly different clasp, the faint repair line. Is it wrong that I don't feel guilty? No. You gave them 3 years of generosity. They gave you nothing but contempt. You don't owe them guilt on top of everything else. Do you think Bella will be okay? Mom smiled. I think Bella is learning more right now than she ever would have at that fancy academy. Real lessons about real life. She'll be fine, maybe better than fine. 6 months after the birthday dinner, I received a handwritten invitation, a recital at Bella's new studio. My name written in careful script with a note at the bottom in Bella's handwriting. I'd really like you to come. No pressure, but I'd like you to see what I've learned. I went. The studio was nothing like the Metropolitan. Small, slightly shabby, with worn wooden floors and mirrors that had seen better days, but the energy was different, warmer, more genuine. Bella danced a contemporary piece that she'd choreographed herself. It was raw, honest, technically imperfect, but emotionally powerful. About breaking and healing, about learning to value yourself beyond external validation, about understanding that beauty comes from authenticity. When it ended, I was crying. Afterward, Bella came over uncertain. Did you like it? It was beautiful, really beautiful. Miss Catherine helped, but the concept was mine, about, learning things the hard way. The best lessons usually are learned the hard way. She looked at my necklace, then met my eyes. I'm glad you got it fixed. Me too. It really is beautiful. I'm sorry I never saw that before. We see what we're taught to see, until we learn to look for ourselves. Bella nodded, understanding flickering in her eyes. She was different now, quieter, more thoughtful, less of her mother's brightness, but more of her own light. Thank you for coming, she said softly. It means a lot. Thank you for inviting me. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely. It wasn't restoration of everything that had been lost. But it was something, a beginning, a possibility. The last time I saw Melinda was at a family event months later. She looked tired, older. Her designer clothes were gone, replaced by department store brands. Her expensive highlights had grown out. She looked more real somehow. Less polished, but more human. She approached me hesitantly. Clara, thank you for coming to Bella's recital. It meant a lot to her. She's very talented. She is. Melinda paused, uncomfortable. I owe you an apology. A real one. Not because I want something, but because it's overdue. I treated you terribly. For years. I made assumptions about you, about your life, about your worth. I taught Bella to do the same. I was wrong. I studied her face, looking for insincerity, for manipulation, but I saw only exhaustion and something that might have been genuine remorse. Why did you do it? I asked quietly. Because you made me insecure. You were content with so little, or so I thought. You didn't need validation or status symbols or any of the things I'd built my identity around. It threatened me. So I tore you down to build myself up. That's honest. I've had a lot of time to think lately. When you're working retail folding clothes for people who treat you the way I treated you, you gain perspective. She smiled bitterly. Karma, I guess. Maybe just consequences. Either way. She looked at me, really looked at me, maybe for the first time. I can't undo what I did. I can't give back those 3 years or that necklace or the trust I destroyed. All I can do is say I'm sorry and mean it. I appreciate that. Do you forgive me? I touched my grandmother's necklace, feeling the repaired chain, the new clasp, the stones that had scattered and been gathered. I'm working on it. Forgiveness takes time like repairs, but I'm working on it. She nodded. That's more than I deserve. Maybe, but it's what I can offer. We didn't become close after that. The damage was too deep, the wounds too fresh. But we achieved something better than closeness. We achieved honesty. No more performances, no more pretense. Just 2 women who'd hurt each other trying to exist in the same family without destroying each other further. Leo and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. He apologized genuinely for years of cowardice, for choosing peace over principle, for letting Melinda treat me terribly because confronting her was uncomfortable. We had hard conversations about boundaries and respect and what family really means. I always thought keeping the peace was the right thing, he told me over coffee one afternoon. I didn't realize that peace without justice is just enabling abuse. You understand now. I understand that I failed you. I understand that I taught Bella it was acceptable to treat you badly because I never stopped it. I understand that I put my own comfort above your dignity. He met my eyes. I'm sorry. Deeply sorry. I believe you. Can we start over? We can start from here. Moving forward, but not over. What happened happened. We acknowledge it and build from there. He nodded. Fair enough. Bella and I developed a different relationship too. Not aunt and niece in the traditional sense, but something more like mentor and student. She'd text me about her dance training, about decisions she was facing, about learning to separate her own desires from her mother's ambitions. Miss Catherine says I have to decide why I dance, she texted once. Is it because I love it or because I love being praised for it? That's a good question, I wrote back. What's your answer? I'm still figuring it out. That's honest. Hold on to that honesty. It's valuable. The necklace sits in its place on my dresser when I'm not wearing it, the 3 diamonds catching light from the window. It's different now. Not quite the same as my grandmother wore it, not quite the same as I wore it that night at the birthday dinner, but still beautiful, still meaningful, still a reminder of strength. Some things break and can't be fully restored. Some relationships shatter beyond complete repair. Some trust once destroyed leaves permanent scars. But scars are proof of survival. Repairs are proof of value. The fact that something is worth fixing means it was worth something to begin with. My grandmother's necklace reminds me of that every day. It reminds me that I was worth defending, that my generosity was valuable even if it wasn't appreciated, that setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-preservation. It reminds me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices, not as punishment, but as education, because growth requires accountability, and accountability requires consequences. Bella lost her prestigious academy, but she gained something more valuable: perspective, understanding, empathy, the beginning of wisdom. Melinda lost her illusions of superiority, but she gained reality, humility, the chance to rebuild herself on something more solid than status. Leo lost his comfortable passivity, but he gained his spine, his principles, the ability to stand up for what's right instead of what's easy. And me, I lost my role as the family's invisible benefactor, the quiet relative who could be dismissed and mocked. But I gained something immeasurable: my self-respect, my voice, my refusal to accept treatment I don't deserve. The necklace taught me that lesson just as much as it taught it to Bella. You can't let people destroy something precious just because they don't understand its value. You can't keep giving to people who treat your gifts with contempt. You can't sacrifice yourself on the altar of family harmony when that harmony is built on your silence about mistreatment. Sometimes love means boundaries. Sometimes family means accountability. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is stop enabling dysfunction, even if it causes temporary pain, especially if it causes necessary growth. I wear my grandmother's necklace often now. The 3 diamonds catch the light, 3 teardrops that have survived decades and drama and destruction. They remind me where I come from. They remind me what I'm worth. They remind me that some things are too valuable to let anyone diminish them, including myself. So here's what I want you to understand. You are not required to fund someone else's dreams while they treat you like garbage. You are not obligated to sacrifice yourself for family members who show you nothing but contempt. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to demand respect. You are allowed to withdraw support when that support is met with cruelty. And when people call you cruel for having boundaries, remember this: they're not upset that you're being mean. They're upset that you stopped being useful. There's a difference between being kind and being a doormat, between being generous and being exploited, between keeping the peace and enabling abuse. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away from people who treat you like you're worthless. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let them face reality without your protection, because real change only happens when consequences arrive. Bella learned that lesson. Melinda learned it. Leo learned it. And I learned that my worth isn't determined by other people's recognition of it, that my value isn't up for debate, that my boundaries aren't negotiable. 3 diamonds, 3 teardrops, 3 generations of women learning that strength sometimes looks like leaving, sometimes looks like saying no, sometimes looks like letting people face the outcomes of their own choices. My grandmother knew it. My mother learned it. I've learned it. And maybe, just maybe, Bella is learning it too. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had to cut off financial support to teach someone a lesson about respect? Have you ever been the invisible supporter while being publicly disrespected? What would you have done in my situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and I'd love to hear your stories too. And if this resonated with you, if you've ever struggled with setting boundaries with toxic family members, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about standing up for yourself even when it's hard, even when family tells you you're wrong, even when it costs something, because you're worth more than being someone's ATM while they treat you like trash. Remember, real family respects you, real love honors boundaries, and real worth doesn't need external validation. You just have to believe it yourself. Like those 3 diamond teardrops still catching the light after everything they've survived.